Hey everybody, this is Gavin from Team Lechuga. I just wanted to give you guys a quick first impressions and first ranking, basically based around our first thoughts for the character reveals for Godzilla Reign of Kaiju. This set's pretty exciting to me personally. I think in general it's a little bit higher of a power level than we've had recently. Still not as strong as stuff like the Godzilla structure decks. But definitely an improvement over like Critical Role, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the like. So I wanted to go ahead and give my thoughts. First up, in last place we have Destroy a Perfect Life Form. So this guy, he's just really, really slow. That's his big problem. I really don't see him doing much. If you want to do that big remove 6 Destroy counters and pop the 2 cards, you've got to do nothing with the rest of your character for 3 turn cycles. Obviously, this is probably the biggest asterisk on the whole tier list. Is just going to be like, if this guy gets a way to get a bunch of destroy counters, I could see him doing stuff. -3 speed isn't nothing, so he's got that going for him. But you can only do it twice per turn, and if you do, then you could just never use your bottom enhance. Yeah, definitely not looking forward to this guy. Then 14th place, we have Jet Jaguar Warrior of Justice. And I'm actually really interested in this guy, which is crazy. Basically the second worst character in the set, and I've got a lot of good things to say about him. I think this form is very sneaky good. You're going to choose the worst thing out of your opponent's discard pile, and they choose the worst thing out of yours, but you're the one who can manipulate your discard based around that, or manipulate your deck building in general. You could put a bunch of 5 difficulty foundations. You could put a bunch of cards that use deadlock abilities, your really powerful deadlock abilities. Like, I know we don't have those in abundance in standard, especially under these symbols, but stuff like invisible infiltration. I don't think that's the right word. Undercover infiltration, yeah. That one where you're able to flip and commit your rival's 2 best foundations. Stuff like that. Heat Ray has a pretty good deadlock. Stuff like that, just in general. The problem I have with this guy is that this bottom enhance is just super, super weak. You may say, hey, you can still, give +1 to your check to block on your opponent's turns. You can do that 2 times, and then you go neutral on the 3rd time. And even then, that's just, -1 speed. I don't know. I'm not really understanding why this needed to be, you can only do it 3 times, but on the 3rd time you have to commit your character. I think for offense, it means that you pretty much have to play the good symbol for this guy to get your Electric Moth to re-ready him. And even then, it's okay, you get +1 to all of your checks. Didn't we just get Hydern, who just says, the first attack you play ignores progressive, and there's no hoops to jump through at all. I don't really understand why this guy is so weak. But again, I like the form a lot. Next up, we've got Rodon, Fire Rodon. I don't really like that name. That's a pretty lame name. But this guy, yeah, he's got good stats. +3 or -2 damage is a lot. For that much damage reduction as a 6-hander, that is pretty promising. You're kind of relying on you pumping speed and your stuff that pumps speed not getting interrupted. So because your character doesn't also pump speed, your deck is going to have to be full of speed, enhance, and stuff like that. That is a pretty big hoop to jump through, but obviously if you have a bunch of speed and a bunch of damage on your attacks, then that's pretty worthwhile. And then that bottom ability is really good, being able to seal cards at the cost of a momentum. It's not once per turn or anything like that. But again, we don't pump speed, so actually getting our attacks to hit is going to be one challenge in and of itself. We only pump damage. We're just going to get our stuff blocked, and we're not going to get any momentum. At number 12, we have, I think this is Anguirus, Fierce Dragon. This guy, he's pretty cool. He plays a very, very mean Shin Hashigeki, and I love that card. That's one of my favorite cards. And that card's just really never seen a home. The closest we got was that moment where we were wondering if Woman actually gave it 2 instances of 2 damage, but that's not the case. This guy immediately on play gives it 1 speed and 2 damage and has them commit a card. And then for every power token that you get, which you do generate pretty easily, you can make your rival commit another foundation. Pretty strong. But with those symbols, especially like Chaos, Earth, Fire, and the fact that we're under the 5+ difficulty lock, I am wondering why not just play Godzilla. I mean, this character doesn't have a third line of text. It doesn't generate as much damage as Godzilla if things are getting blocked. So, like, this isn't really helping the Rodon matchup. 1 speed is going to be pretty cool against Rodon, but it's not going to be the end of the world, I don't think. But, fire symbol for that Shin Hashigeki is pretty cool. We've got Godzilla, Shin Godzilla, another, fire Rodon moment. I don't know why he couldn't have just been named Shin Godzilla, even if it is at the cost of, like, character stacking in retro, but whatever. This guy, he's pretty good, the death symbol is going to help him a lot with foundation destruction. It just sucks that in like an entire turn cycle, he only pops 1 foundation himself. So you've got to pretty much run the entire deck like around foundation destruction. If your opponent takes a build turn, then that's going to put you, very far behind most of the time. And even to pop that 1 thing or to, actually get under our damage, we don't give any speed. So it's just like if they block a bunch of times, then we're not popping foundations, we're not getting use out of our power tokens and stuff like that. But again, a pretty cool guy. If you do like 4 checks, there's a lot of those 4 check attacks that can pop foundations. I'm pretty excited about that, especially it's got that Chaos Rampage that I really like. Number 10, we've got Biolante, a giant plant monster. Now, I've seen this character get hyped up a ton, and I do see it. Like, these abilities are super, super strong. Getting the best card out of your discard pile every turn cycle, or not even turn cycle, it's every single turn. But you do have to put a card into your card pool. Now, that's not like the biggest thing. I mean, you're just going to play a referee jury after you put that card in there and not have to worry about it. But if you ever are in a situation where you do have to block, she's not really going to want to block, right? She doesn't give any speed reduction. We're past the point of like everybody's reliably sending like 4 to 6 damage attacks. It's going to be more than that in certain matchups, and I think that's where she suffers. And obviously, you can still just referee jury things down to 4, but we've got stuff like Chinatown running around that's going to nullify the jury. I see like, these are really powerful abilities, but they have heavy costs, and we are a 5-hander. It's not like we can just put a card into our card pool and build 3 and just like expect to live. I think in certain matchups. But again, this is the point where like this character is really strong, and I just think that highlights how like if this was 10th place in like Heroes of Exandria, we would be talking about a character that would just like never even be played in locals, whereas I think actually there's a lot of sauce with Biolante. Next up, number 9, we have Hidora, Smog Monster. Personally, I'm not very excited about this guy, but it's hard to doubt how strong he is. He really, you don't have to play throws, but he is really asking you to play throws because they are more likely to deal damage, based off of being throws. And then whenever they do, you mill one, and the top of your the card that you milled is going to have a high block wand for this to be a really impactful ability. And obviously, if it is, they're going to take 3 damage compared to like 1 if you're playing like good block mods. He's very simple, unfortunately. And like, you think Rodon is like a dream matchup for this guy. But the Rodons are teching like a lot of copies of Armor-Clad Faith and Mikasa Defeats the Female Titan, which kind of dunk on throws. If they've got like 2 of those on board, that's like, pretty much all of your turn value. You could still attack a 3rd time, but like, you got to be afraid of how, people can push back at you whenever you've got your throws blocked. And now you have all these like really bad block mods, so you're not really trying to block them. That response on the commit response is really good, but it's only really going to go hard against the people that are trying to play a bunch of attacks. Overall not a bad character, but a little too simple for me. Next up, we've got Batra, Beast of Destruction. This guy is really sick. Kind of reminds me of Cart Titan a lot, where you're committing your character, readying your character a bunch. And it's like on one side, I see how strong he's going to be with giving that 2/2, and then giving -2 speed and making your rival commit foundations on their turn. But he relies on attacks dealing damage, and there's some matchups where that's just not going to happen. +2 speed and +2 damage is not enough. You can play throws and stuff like blindside slash to make sure that your stuff deals damage. But if you're gonna rely on your opponent's stuff dealing damage, then you're gonna have to with 22 health, you're gonna need some like deflect or half blocks, like really good stuff like that. And it's a lot of asks. And then even whenever you do ready your character, you still do have to commit a foundation. You get to seal your rival's foundations, but you go down on cards that you can commit to past checks, whereas they just lose the text on their cards. Overall, I don't think he's in a bad spot. I'm sure, if you just play like an Electric Moth, you're going to guarantee ready your character. If you play some amount of throws or blindside slash, like I said, you're going to guarantee ready your character unless, like I said, the aforementioned throw hate. But yeah, he's a pretty solid guy. Next, we've got Burning Godzilla at number 7. A big pro for him, I'm going to say that massive damage, and I'm just going to say it, massive damage. Like has uncapped damage, and all you have to do is play like a 80 or so card deck to really feel it. Like, you can say like, well, what if they block everything? And it's like, well, as soon as they don't block something, they're going to take like 15 to 20 damage. Like if we're in like the mid to late game, so it's like, I'm not really all that worried. Like if you just, aren't able to sculpt anything for the entire game because you're blocking everything that I play, when I finally get that one attack in, it's going to be pretty huge. So I'm not really worried about that. It does suck that he is locked to the 5+ difficulty, like a lot of the Godzilla characters are. But I'm not too worried about that. We have stuff like Thrashabout, I think it is. That's like basically the Dragon Strike reprint. Super good card for the Earth Attuned he has there. That once per game is also super strong. If your opponent is attacking you with a big string, you block 2 times. You get to remove 2 cards from your card pool, and you get to remove their current attack, saying that you can probably block 1 or 2 more times, assuming that this is like the late game, and they have to attack you 1 extra time anyways. Like, that's really strong. And then if you want to go on the offensive, then you're just like, okay, well, I'll play 2 attacks, play a 3rd attack, and then remove those first 2 from my card pool, and it basically ignored 2 progressive for the rest of the turn. That's super strong. And then, one problem, kind of like, what was it, Bionic Menace, where you have to run like a really big deck. There's going to be sometimes like you really want to see like a Father's Sin, or you want to see your Attack Titans Haymakers to start milling a bunch, but sometimes you just won't because you've got a giant deck. Number 6, we've got Gigan Space Monster. I think that's Gigan. It could be Gigan. I'm not sure. And then kind of his pros and his cons they coincide with each other. Like, he does give good stats, 2 damage to everything, and then occasionally giving 2 speed. But a lot of the times that 2 speed is going to be random. You're not going to really, you're not guaranteed to have it whenever you want it. And then the after an attack deals damage, okay, you're drawing a card, but then you've got to discard a card most of the time. And your attack has to deal damage in the first place. He can do really cool stuff with the April 3 diff, where you if your attack deals damage, you stack the top of your deck, and then you draw that card. Super strong. I love that card. But he's just definitely not like a perfect character. He's asking for an attack to deal damage, and a lot of the times your opponent is just going to block. And the thing is that he only gives that 2 speed some of the time. So, most of the time they're going to block the +2 damage move, and he just won't deal damage. If it was the other way around, this character would move up probably 2 or 3 spots. But because he's solely, or most of the time, a damage pump character, it's going to be harder to trigger that response. At number 5, we've got Space Godzilla BioQuartz Monster. I mean, he's got City Rampage basically on face. At the cost of 1 momentum, you get 1 to your checks, which isn't as good as City Rampage, but of course City Rampage does sit in your card pool, and you didn't have to make a check for it. So a lot of those times where you're like, oh, it's turn 2 and I've got my rampage and I really needed a hit, or like not check a 3, it's not going to check a 3 with this guy. So that's cool. You don't have to worry about that. Doesn't pump a ton of damage, but you do get those 2 power tokens, so it's not the end of the world. And then like commit for -3 is super strong. That's one more than like Mark Tyner, but Mark Tyner gets to do it twice, of course. But it does have that failing clause where like you can fail it, and I'm really confused where like why does Mark get to do that? Where like it you don't get to fail it for free, but this guy does let you do that. It's kind of confusing, but still, that's basically in a lot of situations that's going to be a entire attack deletion, which, as you'll see in the future, is super strong. Next up, we've got King Ghidorah, 3-headed monster at number 4. Yeah, we've got a lot of pros to say about this guy. He's a 5-hander with 33 health, but then that ability to basically Roman cancel yellow, I think it is, 3 times, pretty much whenever you want. Super strong. Like, I mean, that's a lot of health. Like this, of course, as he's a 5-hander, this is going to be effectively more health than we had as our 6-hander Ghidorah. And I do have Megalomania in the cons here. Obviously, he is so much better at dealing with Megalomania than the previous Ghidorah, so I just thought I'd mention it here. Basically, if you were afraid of Megalomania before, you're going to love this new King Ghidorah because he's got 33 health to chew through, even if you do remove the response for the rest of the turn. On the other side, I mean, he gives whatever stat you want offensively, 2 speed or 3 damage. So, like, you just pretty much give 2 speed until they can't block anymore, and then you start hitting them with a big 3 damage moves. You know, you can give, like, 3 damage to your Trigrav Beam, which is super great. He gets the old Ghidorah remove synergy stuff that we all love, like the ones that I know there's one that like says you can play it from your removed pile. He gets a Sung Jinu foundation that says like when it's removed from your hand, you draw a card. So basically, he gets to play Feral Shriek, which is awesome to basically stop being a 5-hander. Which I think is his biggest drawback. You don't have anything that stops you from being a 5-hander. Even whenever you are enhancing, you're only really filtering a card. You're not going up on cards unless it is that aforementioned foundation. Number 3, we've got Mechagodzilla modified to Type 3 Kiryu. And I'm kind of cheating with this one. Most of these guys are judged based on the fact that I don't know what their kits are other than what they got revealed with. But Kiryu got revealed with a card that gives itself a Kiryu counter at the end phase. And you can just keep it forever as long as you're willing to pay that drive cost. So that's going to be super crazy. You just have like infinite low blocks for the rest of the game. And like, it's not a bad attack. It's like a 3 mid-5 with stun 1, I think. But like, if you are wanting more cards, then like that's going to be more cards for you. He's just a 6-hander. That is the most fake 5-hander I've ever seen. I mean, obviously he has 32 health, so he's not a 5-hander. He gets his 6th card, and you can do whatever what you want with it. You can even just not use it, and so that you'll be, if you can afford to, you'll trade being a 5-hander for this turn and be like a 7-hander later. Sounds awesome to me. The real thing, though, is that enhance there is super strong. You're going to give everything 2 damage and then completely block it, and you get to target commit your rival foundation. Super crazy. I mean, this isn't just stun. This is their best foundation gets committed, their best foundation gets committed, and then you flip it back to your turn, and now they've got a bunch of extra committed foundations, but maybe they took a built turn at the end of their attack string, and now you start committing those things, or they take 2 extra damage. The big flaw with this guy is that like you're getting a lot of value off of your rival attacking you, so you're gonna need speed reduction, and he doesn't have that on face. So you got to be kind of a wizard with your blocking, especially because it does rely on perfect blocking. Number 2, we've got Godzilla, Titan of Terror. Again, this is a 7-hander. because the seventh card that you get is your best card for free, and it passes from your discard pile, as long as it is a 5 difficulty. I know there's a 5 difficulty foundation. I'm not sure if it's one that he can play. I think it was like a void card, but I could be wrong. But I know at the very least we have, Genghis Frog, and we have Manipulations of Zeke Yeager that this guy can play. A 5 difficulty foundation that definitely warrants it being a 5 difficulty foundation. When you're going second, you can just review Manipulations and then build out your turn like normal and then play it at the very end and start becoming, a 7, 8, 9, 10 hander, something crazy like that, as long as you're willing to play a bunch of ranged cards. I'm super looking forward to this guy. Again, I wanted to mention Shin Hashigeki here because he does stack power tokens pretty well. But more importantly, if he sees a Shin Hashigeki in his discard and he wants it, he gets it. So, he plays it, a lot better than Anguirus probably, unless Anguirus just draws it when he needs to. But yeah, an entire free card, a free 5 difficulty card is super crazy, and it's not just a random one. It's the best one in your discard pile. For the cons here, no defense. Obviously you're just going to have a bunch of defense, however much defense you want in your deck. But again, he's a 7-hander with 28 health. That's crazy. And then lastly, I don't think this should be a surprise to anybody. Mothra, Divine Moth. I don't want to be hyperbolic here, but I feel like this is the strongest, single enhance we have in the game right now. I remember a card that basically has the same text as this, is In the Typhoon. And that card was played a little bit with Shigaraki 3 because it had that heavy drawback of being a 3 diff. You have to either sacrifice or remove it. You have to discard 2 cards for this attack to be considered completely blocked. Mothra, she just does it every turn. She just commits her character. There's no momentum cost. There's nothing. This completely removes the idea of poking against Mothra unless you are prepared to play a second attack and have it be an even bigger poke. But if you do that, the response triggers off of this attack being completely blocked and giving the next one -2 speed. So they'll probably be able to block that one too. You're going to have to, normally you'll have to find 4 or 5 or, X attacks. You have to find X +1 against Mothra. That is super strong. And then, offensively, she's not the greatest. Again, she doesn't find damage or anything like that. But as soon as something gets blocked, the next attack gets +3 speed. And +3 is pretty good. I would say that's a little bit above rate. But really, I almost completely evaluate this character just based off of that bottom enhance. For those of you who don't know, this is not just Mikasa defeats the female Titan or Wall Cling, where if I block it, it's considered completely blocked. This is the block right here. We both, whenever I trigger this enhance, me and my rival look at each other thinking, if you get this to 1 billion damage and 1 billion speed, then when we get to the block step, it is completely blocked. You don't have to worry about anything else. So, yeah, that's my tier list, guys. I think Mothra is gonna tear the format up probably. I myself am looking at this Godzilla for that free extra 5 diff. Didn't even mention City Rampage. If you want Rampage, you just get it every turn. But I think there's better things you can do. That's pretty much all I've got to say. I'll see you guys later in the next one.